Okay, welcome to my podcast here, which I'm calling now Leveraging Your Voice, or Leverage Your Voice. That's what I think I'm going to title my new podcast, Leverage Your Voice. My podcast over the past few weeks has been nameless. So, Kaci, you have the honor of being on the podcast with a new name, Leverage Your Voice.
Beautiful.
How about that? You're a first. Now, people might not like it, and then you'll be, the person that closed down that name too. That's possible too. Who knows? You could be famous for many reasons for being on this podcast today.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. Well, I want to welcome you to the podcast, and I want to start with just sort of asking you a little bit about what you do and who you do it for. And I know that you're a chiropractor out in California, and I think even in San Diego, right? And I've been to San Diego. It's a great spot. But why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at and what you do?
That's correct. We're in San Diego. We're actually technically Carlsbad, which is North County of San Diego. And I do a technique called knee, chest, upper cervical chiropractic care, which means we focus on the nervous system. And it's only these top two bones that we actually address and correct, because we are having an entire nervous system. We're addressing the entire nervous system by addressing this area, because this is where your brainstem sits, and then your spinal cord comes out of it, and all of the nerves and your entire body go through this area. So it has a huge effect if you address right here. It's kind of like the electrical panel of the body. So we see a lot of people with chronic conditions, chronic health issues, migraines, fibromyalgia, depression, anxiety, all these things that people think they just have to manage and live with. And we love helping people realize that they don't just have to survive, they can thrive, and they can have a life where they're fulfilling it and reaching their optimal levels, not just managing symptoms, not just taking something to mitigate an issue that they're currently having, but actually heal and have a long-term correction from it.
Well, that is a honorable endeavor, no doubt, because people who come with any of those things you just mentioned would be struggling. So
yes,
that's impressive. Now, I got to ask you this. Knee chest is what you threw in there when you were describing it. So I have to ask you, what does that mean? Are you going to wiggle the knee or something I just got to know what that means. Why did you say knee chest?
that is a great question. So it's strangely named, but it's naming the position you're in. Basically, we don't want to put any rotational force into the cervicals or anywhere in the body. So we have the patient in the position based off of, we'll take infrared thermography scans to measure how their nervous system's functioning. And if it's not functioning well, we take CBCT scans, which give us a 3D rendering of the space. We'll do orthopedic and neurological testing to understand their baseline starting point. And based off of that, we know what exact specific correction they need. So it's a very precise, only one adjustment, and the patient's knees are on a pad and their chest is on a table, and that's why it's called a knee chest table.
Oh, okay. There you go. So that makes some sense.
There you go.
It's a little more boring than I was hoping for, but okay.
It's not, it does make sense given that we work here, that we're not addressing the knees or the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping for some crazy thing about hanging from your knees or something, but I don't know, maybe like a bat, but I guess that's not it.
Not it.
Now you're really, go ahead.
I said, people have tried that. It's not what we do though.
All right. Now you're there in a park somewhere because you're so dedicated to making this podcast that you just pull off the road. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in a park for this podcast.
Sure. I was actually at a tea right before this. So the tea went a little bit longer. It was a fundraiser for a big primary physician around the area, Culture of Life Family Services. And it's a little bit farther from my house, and it ran over. So I didn't make it home in time for the interview. So I pulled over at a park I've never been to, but now I plan to come back and give it a look at.
It looks like it's great, and we see there must be some sort of walking path behind you, because occasionally somebody walks by, but so far no one has stopped to wave or anything. So we'll see if that happens.
Not on this side. I've seen some people waving as they walk on the other.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right. So Tell me, where did you go to train for your chiropractic degree?
I went to Parker University. It's in Dallas, Texas.
Hmm.
So that was the graduate portion of studying. And while I was there, I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor because I love the intention that the body can heal itself given the means. But while I was there, I also was suffering from migraines and I got under upper cervical care. So I got under the type of care that I practice. And that's what led me to pursue postgraduate work within upper cervical specifically. So I actually learned that from the Art of the Specific, which is 𝗀𝗄𝗏, hence the name of my practice, the Specific Chiropractic Centers. And I practiced in Hawaii with Dr. Addison for a few years before moving to San Diego and opening my own clinic.
Wow. So you like to practice in some really nice locations.
I would not live anywhere where it snows. That's correct.
Okay, so I'm in Michigan, so all you could do is visit. You wouldn't stay.
Correct. Although I've beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a good save, right?
Yes.
All right. So outside of the specific chiropractic that you do, one of the questions I always ask is, do you think about doing other chiropractic adjustments as well? Do you do other chiropractic adjustments as well? Or in your practice, do you, and as a practitioner, just do that one type of adjustment?
I am pretty boring and I only do upper cervical chiropractic. And I actually also only do it on my children. So I will check and adjust if necessary. Babies up until my oldest patient's 92. But that doesn't mean that I don't see a benefit, especially when people are pregnant. I am an expert in what I do, and I want to send people to other experts. So if my patients need blood testing or nutrition or maybe some other musculoskeletal addressed, then I send them to those experts in those fields too. But yes, myself, fully upper cervical because it's focusing on the nervous system specifically.
I love that you recognize all those other things and don't like say to people, oh, don't go do anything but this. So I really like that. And I think that shows maturity and wisdom and all those sorts of things. So that's pretty cool. Tell
Yeah,
us
the
about,
whole works together and everybody heals accordingly to different things. And I think it's a puzzle and we're not just physical beings, we're mental, emotional, spiritual, all of it. And so you need to make sure everything's being addressed.
yeah, no, that's cool. Now tell us about, maybe not by name, but maybe a patient or two that had a really interesting situation that you helped them with. So talk maybe about that.
Sure. I'll share about two. One of them, my favorite type of person that I love working with is, like I said, someone who thinks that they just have to live with it, but realizes that they can totally change the trajectory of their life and heal completely. And I think you see that best with kids. So I had a little girl coming in. She was 9 and she had really bad asthma, allergies, night panic attacks, waking up, not able to sleep through the night. And children heal so fast because their bodies have had a lot less trauma that they've gone through and has typically less to heal through. But within the first few months, I'd say within the first month, she was sleeping through the entire night without waking up, no more panic attacks. And by the end of the second month, her mom said she accidentally ate peanuts and she was fine. Not saying that we feel all these things, but her body wasn't having that intense reaction, that autoimmune reaction like it was previously.
Now that's got to make the mom and the kid just feel amazing. It's got to be like a miracle.
It's changing the entire life of that child when they don't, at that young of an age, start off with different medications, trying to address things that cause side effects, that then they take more medication because of the side effects. And instead of that, you just allow the body to heal naturally like it was intended to do and see how the life changes, because now they're able to sleep and now they're able to function better without the brain fog because they're sleeping better. And so they're performing better in school and they're able to communicate and connect with their peers more. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. Now, I don't want to sound like a therapist, but I have to ask, and I think people would love to know, how does it make you feel when you help someone like that?
I mean, doesn't everybody want to get into the profession for that reason? It's life-giving. It's so beautiful to see how you can help someone else. You're just facilitating the process, but you're you're helping their entire life change. And it's so life-giving and fills me with the most amount of joy and satisfaction.
That's awesome. Now, you said we got 2 examples, so give us another one. I'm very curious to hear another example.
Sure. So another one is one that we see a lot in our practice, which is migraines. And this woman, actually, you had mentioned Dr. Shane right before this. She was seeing Dr. Jason in his practice before they moved from Chico down to San Diego. So she was continuing care. But when she started with them, I believe it was 3 to 4 migraines a week. And she was in her 60s, and it had been multiple decades that she was experiencing that frequency. And so she started care there and moved down to San Diego. And by the completion of care was down to 0 migraines. Wow. And when she was getting checked, she had 0 migraines. And then at one point they moved back, and I think it had been a year before she had to go back in for another migraine. Wow. So it was really, really beautiful and impactful to see how it changed, again, not just her, but her family's life as well.
Yeah, and that's like a child and an older person. So you cover the whole range of ages. It isn't like just it works for a certain age group.
Correct, right? Because we're focusing on the nervous system, which is what controls and coordinates every function in the entire body. So if it's functioning optimally like it should, then your body is functioning the way it should. But if there's some dysregulation happening and it's not functioning at 100%, then you frequently see symptoms occur in the body, and they can present so many different ways for different people. And that's why we don't say it's a cure-all, and it's not a miracle. We're just helping facilitate the body to heal like it should. Because when your nerves function the way they should, your body's able to heal, because that's how we were created to be.
I suspect the people who have been struggling with migraines for decades would think it's a miracle.
That's true. You're right. That is something, especially if medication doesn't help them and they just have to kind of suffer through it until it goes away. Seeing a different way of life that they get to live, you're right, would feel pretty incredible. And it does, because I was there.
It is amazing. Now, when you're talking to someone who has migraines, who maybe doesn't know about specific chiropractic, the type of work that you do, and maybe they're a little skeptical and different things like that, talk a little bit about maybe the approach you might have when you meet them and talk to them about what you do and how it might help. What are you thinking about in that kind of situation?
Sure. It depends on where I'm meeting them at. So if they, like you said, are skeptical, but they still want to learn and come into the office for more information, we have, like I said, that infrared thermography, which is a tool we can utilize to see how the nervous system is functioning. So we would do a complimentary consult with them and just do a scan and see, okay, we can show you physically what we're seeing on this graph on the computer based off of the scan we just did on your neck. What explain it to them. And usually that one, seeing is believing for so many people. Mm-hmm. That is a big one for most people when they're able to actually see, okay, that registers with how I feel. I understand that. And then obviously when they go through the initial exam with full testing and they see the actual imaging of what's happening in that space, they're able to make the connection. But I've had people start who were skeptics even after starting. They're like, I don't really think this is going to hurt. This is not going to help. But I mean, like, I've tried everything else. So there's nothing else I can do right now. I'll just try it. But the good thing is it's not something you have to believe in. It works because it works because it's functionally changing things. It's not a religion. It's not a belief thing. Right. So
that's awesome. Now, if you meet someone in the park there as you're packing up and they ask you what you do and you tell them and they're skeptical, but they have a problem like a migraine situation or something like that, how might your approach be different? Because you're not going to be able to pull out the modern tools then and there in the park. So curious, how might you address that situation?
That's true. Yeah, that one, it would be a little bit more slower explanation of why this is effective, starting off with what the nervous system is. A lot of times people, you heard the word, it's a buzzword, it's buzz term, and people are all about cold plunges and infrared saunas, and they're starting to see, okay, I see how that can help regulate my nervous system. So if you can tie it to something that they already understand a little bit about and help explain, okay, so that's kind of like a small little snippet, and you have to keep doing that continuously to see these results. But here's another way that you could do something that's way more effective and longer lasting. And that's what we do. And then obviously throwing in a testimony, an example of this is like a person similar to what your archetype is, what you're talking about. I seen something like that, and this is their result, kind of a thing.
That's great. That's great. That's a great answer. I'm very curious. I almost want to, now we can't like video such a thing live because who knows when such things pop up, but that would be a great thing to watch, is someone like yourself explaining to someone from the very beginning what it's like and what it does and how it might help them. That's interesting. But now you have this video to show them and they can just watch that.
There we go. Now going forward, I'll just show them, watch this snippet from this minute to this minute.
There you go. That's awesome. All right. Now, someone in your area who is having some of these crazy problems that you described, who might see this and say, I want to know more about that. I might be skeptical, but she said I don't have to believe it for it to work. How would they get in touch with you so that they could check it out?
Definitely phone is the best way to connect with us. So calling the office, 858-859-0530. The website, thespecificsandiego.com. And then obviously on the website, there's some ways of connecting with us. They can either schedule a consult, which is again a phone call back to us, or connect with us on social, The Specific San Diego, Instagram and Facebook for those.
Awesome. And they would just call and ask for Dr. Kaci.
Dr. Kaci or Dr. Lauren, she's also in the practice.
Awesome. All right. Do you have anything else you want to share with us today?
No, I'd say the main thing that I want people to understand and have as a takeaway is feeling empowered for them to own their own health and not feel like they just have to kind of go through the system. And so many of my patients also obviously work with neurologists or other practitioners, and they'll say, yeah, my next neurology appointment is October, and it's, April, and it's so far along, and people just think they have to deal with that system. And I want people to realize there's so many different ways of approaching an issue, and be creative and look and research different options and try different things and see what works best for you. But definitely know that there's a way for you to become healthier, and you should own your own health.
Well, I've been a fan of chiropractic all my life, and I couldn't agree with you more. We're responsible for our own health. And if we have a problem that isn't being solved, we should look for people who do different things than what we're already doing. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting the same results.
That's the definition of crazy.
Isn't it? Yes, isn't it? So you're one of those other people that we should look at. Now, if somebody gets in a car accident and breaks their arm and their leg, they probably shouldn't come see you right then and there.
Not unless they have a concussion, but yeah, they should go somewhere else first and then come back.
Yes. All right. Very good. All right. Well, Dr. Kaci, you've been a great guest. I want to thank you for joining us today on the first session where we're calling out our new title, Leveraging, no, it's not that, Leverage Your Voice. I'm learning the title. And I hope today that you have leveraged your voice to share what you do with people so that people who are in the kind of pain that you help can see this, find you, and get the help that they deserve. You would agree with that?
I would, and I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, Paul.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were with us. So say goodbye. Bye, everyone. And we will see you next time on what hopefully still is titled Leverage Your Voice. We'll see you next time.